Good afternoon. Hopefully everybody can find a seat. There's some up front here, so, at any rate, thank you for coming today. I'm CEO of Zoomi, and I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence for learning. And even though that doesn't look like breadcrumbs, that's the best picture I could find. But every learner really leaves a trail of breadcrumbs. And the problem in today's environment, especially in the corporate world, is we can't really get any insights out of that right now. And so understanding that aspect of the learner's journey is a huge multivariate problem, and that really deserves something like AI to be able to crunch the numbers, find the correlations, and then relate that to business outcomes. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that during the session. So I'm not going to go into all the details of the artificial intelligence that we use, but it's not just rules-based, it's true AI. And as many of you know, each individual has a specific learning strategy when they go about learning in an e-learning course. And they're all controlling different aspects of their behavior or cognition or engagement. And so what we do is we take that and we apply different data mining techniques, dimensionality reduction, and predictive modeling to that to try to get to what are they actually learning, what's the knowledge transfer, and how does that relate to the business outcomes for which the training was originally designed. So in summary, what we do is we have an AI platform that can layer over any piece of content. So we're completely content agnostic, and we did that intentionally because there's no shortage of content, particularly in the corporate world, which is the main market that we serve right now. We are opportunistic in higher ed and in K through 12 and tutoring, but we're mainly attacking the corporate world out of the gate. And what we do with this learning analytics platform, once we embed the course into our platform, we're able to track all of the user interactions between the content and the user. So any behavior, any cognitive preferences that come up, engagement, we track all of that down to the atomic level. And that enables us to predict learning and performance. So even at the sentence level, if it's a piece of text or a sentence on a slide, we can actually relate that to business outcomes. And the other thing that we can do is optimize learning content. Because we get down so deep into that level of analysis, we can tell exactly which content, again, down to the sentence level or the video snippet. So if it's a 15-minute video, we break that video up into 15-second snippets, and we can understand how people are learning against those 15-second topics within the video. One of the most important things that we do is personalize based on these predictions and optimizing the content. And so personalization, a lot of people talk about it, different words, adaptability, individualization. We're talking about a very deep level of personalization here. So again, remember that we're down at the level of a sentence or a video segment that's 15 seconds long. And so we're able to serve up content, and I'll show you how we do this. We're able to serve up content in real time without tagging, without predefining the pathways. And this is what the AI does, according to somebody's preferences. So nobody, especially in the corporate world, wants to spend extra time reauthoring content, re-importing content into a new platform just so you can be able to adapt. And so there is artificial intelligence out there to do that, and that's what we have. The most important part of all of this, though, is there is really no intrinsic value to training unless you're linking it to individual outcomes or business outcomes. And that's really what we've been able to do. Because we have this big data set of the experience with the learner, we also can link that to the operational data that we have out in the field, whether it's financial operations. We pull that data in, and our predictions that have served us well on the learning side actually predict those business outcomes as well, which is why we've gotten so much traction in the Fortune 500 so far over the past 2 or 3 years. So this is just a little pictorial about how we actually do this. So because we're content agnostic, because we're LMS agnostic, we're not trying to disrupt the learning ecosystem within the companies. What we do is we come in and we integrate with the LMS or other architecture that you have. So the content gets served up through our player. Again, we can pull in additional operational data. So any data that you already have, we can run that through our artificial intelligence and gain insights through that. Any data that we generate natively it gets analyzed as well, plus any operational data. And all the corporations that I've ever been involved with have a ton of operational data. The problem is it's not linked to the actual learning process, but you can find a lot of really interesting insights, predictive insights, when you put those two big databases together, and that's what we're doing. And so once we do that, we're able to spit out all sorts of different analytics, whether it's diagnostic analytics, is your content any good? I'm sure you guys all have heard people say, well, you know, use my content, it's really good. Well, I always say, how do you know? Because you're not really measuring it. You know, and so whether it's gamification or the latest, greatest video, nobody's really measuring it down to that atomic level where you can actually get to what is the knowledge transfer happening with this content. And I'll give you some examples of where that falls down and why people are spending so much money on this. So we serve this information up on dashboards, but we also, there's a closed feedback loop where we're constantly personalizing until it gets to somebody's exact preferences from a behavioral standpoint or from a cognitive standpoint. So in general, the three business problems that we're tackling, particularly in the corporate world, are the lack of analytics from an efficacy standpoint and an engagement standpoint. And I'm talking about real-time analytics, not things generated by surveys. Surveys are fine. It's an extra piece of data that you can pull in. But why not actually let the data speak for itself and measure exactly what's happening with the user? And that's what we're doing. One-size-fits-all training delivery doesn't help anybody. It actually fits nobody. And you really have to get to a level of personalization. And getting down to this level of specificity and precision allows you to get to ROI, which is one of the big problems in the corporate world. Is there's several of our customers that are spending anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion per year on training, and they've literally said to me, I don't know what the return is on that. And that happens at many of the companies that we see, or the return is muddled with a whole bunch of variables and you can't isolate it. And that's the power of AI. It's able to tease out all that information from the noise. So these, some of the metrics along the bottom are actual metrics from customers that we have. So we've seen an increase using our system in knowledge transfer by over 50%, a decrease in time to proficiency by over 40%, and an increase in productivity. So we're actually able to measure productivity in real time with the system. And that was a decrease by over, or an increase by over 60%. In terms of personalization, I want to just show you some real data. So the way we're able to personalize so precisely is because we can take natural language processing, take any course and do a topic heat map. So within literally minutes, we can produce a heat map like this on anybody's course that shows exactly what topics they're covering and where, and how that relates to the questions that they're asking. And this is actually always very revealing for people because they're like, well, I didn't know I wasn't addressing this topic, or I was addressing this topic too heavily, or I didn't have enough questions on this topic. And so this plays into our personalization. And how we get to, because we're analyzing it down at the topic level, that's how we're able to create these virtual units on the fly. So again, no tagging, no predefinition of where the pathway should go. We're just simply letting the data speak for itself. And in doing so, what we call our no-touch individualization, it analyzes what an individual's preferences from a behavioral and a cognitive standpoint are, and then it takes those topics and reorders them into new content while retaining the context. And so literally during the course, you will have a new page pop up that the instructional designer nor the author designed. The AI designed that. And even better, on the video side, if you had a 15-minute video, it'll serve up a new video that could be 45 seconds based on somebody's deficiency that they're showing in a certain topic. So some of the examples that I already touched on, there's certain things like intuitively you would think a summary right before a quiz would increase the chance that you'd get a higher score on the quiz, right? That's just intuitive. Well, because we're able to analyze this down at this level, we actually have shown several times where the summary increased engagement on the summary, decreased quiz score by over 37%. That was one of the interesting findings we had. And you can't get to that unless you're measuring the data at the level we're measuring. And the reason why is because maybe the summary was confusing. Maybe the topics were confusing. And these are kind of the hidden dimensions that you find when you apply true AI. And so in summary, in terms of our overall product suite, we have a player where we serve up any content. It's completely content agnostic. Doesn't matter who created the content, what vendor created the content, or what type of content it is. We can apply our AI to this. We have a dashboard where we serve up all the insights, and it's different insights depending on whether you're an instructional designer, whether you're a supervisor, or the learner itself, and a personalization engine, which in terms of the level of personalization that we're getting to is something that we just have not seen matched in the industry so far. So thank you.